The smell hit me first. Coffee burning on the hot plate. That acrid stink that means it's been sitting there for hours. I woke up on Claire's sofa around 7, neck stiff from the angle I'd slept at. The house was completely silent. We'd all crashed after the dinner party. Me, Sarah, Tom, and our host Claire. She'd insisted we stay over rather than get cabs. Said she had plenty of room. Made sense at the time. Sarah was still asleep in the armchair across from me, mouth open, one shoe on. Tom had taken the other sofa. I sat up, and that's when I noticed the front door, just standing open. Not ajar, properly open, maybe 2 feet of gap, morning light streaming through. I stood up, confused, checked my phone. No messages. The coffee maker in the kitchen was still on, pot nearly empty and burnt to a tar-like consistency. I turned it off. Claire's handbag was on the counter, keys inside. Her phone, too. "Claire?" I called up the stairs. Nothing. I went up anyway. Her bedroom door was open, bed made, bathroom empty, the spare room where she'd put her coat empty. I came back down and shook Sarah awake. "What?" She blinked at me, disoriented. "Claire's gone. The door's wide open." That woke her up properly. We checked the whole house together while Tom kept sleeping. He'd had more wine than the rest of us. Every room. Claire wasn't there. Her car was still in the drive. Handbag, phone, keys, all accounted for. The only thing missing was her. Sarah tried calling her mobile. We could hear it ringing from the kitchen counter. Maybe she went for a walk, Sarah suggested, but her voice was uncertain. Without her phone, without closing the door, we stood there in the hallway, both of us staring at that open door. It was a quiet street, semis and small gardens, the kind of place where people know their neighbors. A woman walked past with a dog, glanced at us, kept going. "We should check outside," I said. We walked down to the end of the road, then back the other way. Nothing. A few people were leaving for work, getting into cars. Normal Saturday morning. We went back inside and finally woke Tom. "What do you mean she's gone?" He rubbed his face, clearly hungover. "Gone. Not here." Door was open when I woke up. He checked for himself, did the same circuit we'd done. Then he stood in the kitchen, frowning at Claire's phone on the counter. "This is weird," he said. "Should we call someone?" "Like who? The police?" Sarah picked up Claire's phone, scrolled through it. No lock screen, which surprised me. Nothing recent. Last text was to her mom yesterday afternoon. I felt uncomfortable touching her stuff, but Sarah kept looking. No weird calls. No strange messages. The last thing Claire had done on her phone was set an alarm for 7:30, which hadn't gone off because the phone was on silent. We decided to give it another hour. Maybe she'd gone to the corner shop, even though that didn't explain the open door or leaving everything behind. Tom made fresh coffee. We sat in the living room, not really talking, all of us checking our phones every few minutes. Around 8:30, I went outside again, stood on the front step looking up and down the street. That's when the neighbor came out, older woman, maybe 60. "You looking for Claire?" she called over. I walked to the low fence between the properties. "Yeah, actually." "Have you seen her?" "She left early, maybe 6. I was up with the cat, saw her getting into a car." My stomach dropped. "What kind of car?" "Dark blue, I think. Saloon. She seemed fine, not rushed or anything. I assumed it was a taxi." "Did you see the driver?" She shook her head. "Sorry, love. Is everything all right?" I didn't know how to answer that. I thanked her and went back inside, told the others. "So she left voluntarily," Tom said. "That's good, right?" "Then why leave the door open?" Sarah asked. "Why leave her phone and keys?" None of us had an answer. We called the police at 9. They were polite but not particularly concerned. Adult woman, left of her own accord, according to a witness. No signs of struggle. They took our details, said they'd send someone round to take a statement. We waited another 2 hours. A constable came, young guy, took notes, looked around the house. He said they'd make some inquiries, but it didn't sound urgent to him. We stayed until early afternoon. Claire never came back. Never called. We locked up using the spare key from the kitchen drawer, and I posted it back through the letterbox. Sarah tried calling Claire's mum but got voicemail. I still check Claire's social media sometimes. Nothing since that night. Her mum filed a missing person report on the Monday I know because the police called me back for another statement. They found the car on CCTV leaving the street at 6:07 that morning, but the plates were cloned, registered to a completely different vehicle in Manchester. The trail went cold after 3 streets. Claire's house sold about 8 months later. I walked past it once, saw new people moving in. They'd painted the door. I wanted to tell them something, but I didn't know what. I still think about that coffee, burning away on the hot plate. Like she'd meant to come back. Like she'd just stepped out for a minute and something stopped her. The neighbor said she seemed fine, not rushed. But fine people don't leave their front door wide open. Fine people don't get into unmarked cars at 6 in the morning and vanish. Sometimes I wonder if we missed something in the house. Some sign, some note, something that would have made sense of it. But we looked everywhere. There was nothing. Just an empty house, a burnt pot of coffee, and a door standing open to the morning. The house looked massive from the driveway. 3 stories, stone facade, the kind of place you see in magazines. My friend Claire had been talking about this weekend for months. Her new boyfriend Marcus was hosting a dinner party at his family's estate, and she wanted me there for moral support. I work in IT support, so a weekend away from screens sounded good. Marcus greeted us at the door wearing expensive casual clothes, the kind that look effortless but probably cost more than my monthly rent. He gave us the tour immediately. Marble floors, original artwork, a wine cellar he made a big deal about. He kept touching things as we walked, running his hand along the banister, straightening a picture frame. At the time, I thought he was just proud. There were 6 of us total, Claire and me, Marcus's work friend Devin and his wife, and another couple I didn't catch the names of. Dinner was catered, which Marcus explained was because the kitchen staff had the weekend off. That phrasing stuck with me. Kitchen staff. I needed the bathroom after the first course. Marcus pointed me upstairs, second door on the left. I went up and found it, but when I came out, I got turned around. The hallway had 4 identical doors, and I'd forgotten which way I'd come from. I tried one door locked, tried another also locked. The third opened into what looked like a home office. That's when I saw the mail on the desk. Not intentionally snooping, it was just right there. Several envelopes addressed to Dr. Patricia Homewood at this address. Recent postmarks, last week. I stood there processing that for a second, then heard footsteps on the stairs and quickly backed out, closing the door. Marcus appeared at the top of the stairs. "Find everything okay?" "Yeah, sorry. Got lost for a second." He smiled, but his eyes didn't. These old houses, right? Easy to get turned around. Back at dinner, I couldn't focus. I kept thinking about those letters. Maybe Patricia was his mother, but he'd said family estate, not mother's house. And why would her current male be sitting in an office if she wasn't living here? Claire was laughing at something Marcus said, touching his arm. I tried to catch her eye, but couldn't. Devin's wife mentioned something about the garden and asked how long Marcus's family had owned the place. He said 3 generations, gave this whole story about his grandfather buying it in the 70s. Very smooth, very detailed. I'm not sure why, but I pulled out my phone under the table and Googled the address. The property listing came up immediately. Not sold, listed for rent. 6-month minimum, available immediately. Posted by Homewood Property Management. The photos matched exactly. I felt my stomach drop. I should have said something right then. I should have pulled Claire aside. But what do you even say? I think your boyfriend is lying about owning this house. Based on what? Mail and a rental listing? Maybe he was renting it. Maybe there was an explanation. After dessert, Marcus suggested we watch something in the screening room. As we all moved toward the back of the house, I noticed him checking his watch, not casually like he was tracking time. That's when I started feeling genuinely uneasy. The screening room had a massive TV and leather recliners. Very impressive. We were maybe 20 minutes into some documentary when I heard a car in the driveway. Marcus heard it too. I watched his whole body tense. He stood up quickly, said something about checking on the caterers, and left the room. The car door slammed. Then voices outside, getting louder. A woman's voice, angry. "I don't care what you paid. You don't have permission to be here this weekend." I told the agency Friday to Monday only. Marcus's voice, lower, trying to calm her down. "There's been a misunderstanding. This is my house. I came back early from my trip and I want you out. Now." We all looked at each other in the screening room. Claire had gone pale. Devon stood up and opened the door to the hallway. We could hear everything clearly now. "I have guests," Marcus was saying. We had an agreement. We had an agreement for you to rent the house for an event on Friday. This is Saturday night. You were supposed to be gone this morning." Claire walked out into the hallway. I followed her. The woman at the door was in her 50s, well-dressed, holding a suitcase. She looked past Marcus at all of us emerging from various rooms. "Are you all aware this man is renting this house from me? That he doesn't own it?" The silence was horrible. Claire's face was completely white. Marcus, he tried to recover, started talking fast about how he'd wanted to impress everyone, how it had gotten out of hand, how he was going to tell us. But his voice had changed higher, desperate. Nothing like the confident guy who'd given us the tour. "Dr. Holmwood, that's who the woman was, called the police. Not for trespassing," she said, but because she wanted documentation. Marcus had apparently paid for a Friday rental, some kind of luxury experience package, and had simply stayed. She'd been in Edinburgh and came back a day early. We all left before the police arrived. Claire didn't say a word to Marcus, just grabbed her bag. I drove us both back to the city in silence. She cried for about 20 minutes somewhere around the motorway services, then stopped and hasn't really talked about it since. The weird part, the part I still think about, is how committed he was to the lie. The tour, the stories about his grandfather, the casual way he touched everything like he'd grown up there. Devon told me later that Marcus had been talking about the house for weeks at work, showing photos. All of it planned. Claire changed her number. I don't know what happened with Marcus after that night, whether he got in actual trouble or just embarrassed. But I can't go to dinner parties anymore without wondering what else people are lying about, what other borrowed lives they're performing. It's not the big dramatic moment I can't shake, it's how easy it was for him, how natural he made it look. My neighbor knocked on the door around 7 in the morning. I'd just moved into the rental house 3 weeks before, one of those older places backing onto state forest land, about 40 minutes outside Portland. Good price, quiet street, seemed fine. I opened the door, still holding my coffee. The neighbor was maybe 60, wearing a fleece vest and boots caked in mud. He lived 2 houses down, the only other occupied property on our dead-end road. "Morning," he said. "Just wanted to check, have you seen the man in the woods yet?" I blinked at him. "What? The man in the woods? Behind your place. Have you seen him?" I told him no. I hadn't seen anyone. Asked what he meant. He nodded like I'd confirmed something. "You will. Everyone does eventually. Just wanted you to know, don't go looking for him. And if you see him watching, don't acknowledge it. Makes it worse." Then he left. Just walked back down the driveway. I stood there thinking it was some weird rural hazing thing, maybe a local legend to spook newcomers. I work from home doing data entry, so I'm inside most of the day. Didn't think much more about it. 2 days later, I was taking trash to the bin at the edge of the yard. The property line is marked by a sagging chain-link fence. Then it's just forest-thick Douglas firs and underbrush. I happened to glance up while tying the bag. There was someone standing maybe 30 feet back in the trees. Just standing there. Tall, I think. Hard to tell with the shadows and distance. Wearing dark clothes, or maybe it was just how the light fell. I couldn't make out a face. I froze for a second, then waved. Automatic response. The figure didn't move. I went back inside pretty quickly. Told myself it was a hiker, maybe someone from the trail system that runs deeper in the forest. The fence is old and has gaps. People cut through sometimes, probably. But I kept thinking about what my neighbor said. Don't acknowledge it. I tried to focus on work. Around 3 that afternoon, I got up to stretch and looked out the kitchen window. The view faces the backyard and the tree line. He was closer. Maybe 15 feet from the fence now, just standing in the same spot relative to the house. Still too shadowed to see details. But definitely a person. Tall. Still. Hands at his sides. I stepped back from the window. My chest felt tight. I grabbed my phone and pulled up the county sheriff's non-emergency line. But then I hesitated. What was I going to say? Someone standing in the woods behind my house? Technically, it's state land. He wasn't trespassing on my property. And I'd look like an idiot if it was just a hiker or a surveyor or something. I decided to wait and see if he moved on. He didn't. I checked again at 4. Still there. At 5. Still there. The light was starting to fade and I could see even less detail. Just the shape of him against the darker trees. I closed all the blinds on the backside of the house. That night I barely slept. I kept thinking I heard footsteps on the gravel driveway or someone testing the back door. Around 2 a.m., I got up and checked every lock twice. I didn't open the blinds. Morning came and I felt ridiculous. I made coffee, opened the kitchen blind a crack to let light in. He was at the fence, right up against it, hands wrapped around the chain link. Face still in shadow, but I could see he was staring directly at the house. At the window. At me. I yanked the blind shut and called the sheriff. Told them someone was on my property line and wouldn't leave. That I felt unsafe. The dispatcher said they'd send someone out. A deputy arrived about 40 minutes later. I met him outside and pointed toward the backyard. We walked around together. I was explaining what I'd seen, how long he'd been there. The fence line was empty. Just trees and morning fog. The deputy was polite, but I could tell he thought I was wasting his time. He walked the perimeter, checked the fence, said he didn't see any footprints or signs of anyone, suggested maybe I'd seen a shadow or a stump, that the light plays tricks out here. Gave me his card and said to call if I saw anything concrete. After he left, I went back inside and stood at the kitchen window. I was questioning myself. Maybe I had imagined the details. Maybe it was a trick of the trees and my brain filled in a human shape. Then, around noon, I saw him again. Closer. Standing in the middle of my backyard now. Maybe 20 feet from the house. I didn't open the door. I didn't call out. I just watched. He stood there for 6 hours. I timed it. Didn't move. Didn't sit. When it got dark, I couldn't see him anymore, but I didn't know if that meant he'd left. I slept in the living room with a chair wedged under the front door handle and all the lights on. The next morning he was gone. I checked every window, walked the yard, nothing. I drove to my neighbor's house and knocked. He answered with the same neutral expression as before. I asked him what the hell was going on. What is this? Who is that? He shook his head. I don't know. He's been out there since before I moved here. 30 years, maybe more. He shows up for some people and not others, usually new arrivals. Sometimes he gets closer. Sometimes he just watches. No one's ever caught him. No one's ever gotten a good look. I asked why he didn't warn me properly. Why he didn't tell the sheriff. He said he did tell me. He said the police don't come anymore unless someone's actually hurt. They stopped investigating it years ago. I asked what happens if you acknowledge him. He looked past me toward my house. They say he comes inside. I'm staying with a friend in the city now. I stopped paying rent. I don't care about the deposit. I'm not going back. But 2 nights ago, I got a text from an unknown number. Just a photo, no message. It's a picture of my friend's apartment building, taken from across the street. I think I can see someone standing between 2 parked cars in the foreground. The image is too dark to be sure. The drawer stuck halfway. I pulled harder and something metal shifted inside, making this dull clunk against the wood. I was staying at my cousin Martin's place for the weekend while he and his wife were at some conference in Edinburgh. They'd asked me to water the plants and collect the post. Simple favor. I'd driven up Friday evening, let myself in with the spare key from under the ceramic hedgehog by the front step. The house smelled like vanilla air freshener and old radiators. Saturday morning I was making toast and needed a butter knife. Top drawer had cutlery, second drawer had tea towels, third drawer jammed. I wiggled it and heard that clunk again. When I finally got it open, there was a handgun sitting on top of a stack of takeaway menus. Not a replica, not a BB gun, a proper pistol, black, heavy-looking, with a textured grip. I didn't touch it at first, just stood there holding the drawer handle, staring. Martin's an accountant. His wife Claire works in HR. They have a Waitrose loyalty card and a book club. They don't have guns. At least I didn't think they did. I took a photo with my phone. My hands were shaking a bit. Then I carefully pulled the drawer out further. Underneath the menus was a small cardboard box of ammunition. 50 rounds, maybe. The box had been opened. I checked if the gun was loaded. I don't know much about firearms, but I'd seen enough films. There's a button you press to release the magazine. I found it, pushed it, and the magazine slid out into my palm. It was full. I could see the brass casings lined up inside. My stomach felt weird. I put the magazine back in, closed the drawer, and went to sit on the sofa. The toast popped, but I didn't go back for it. I tried calling Martin. Voicemail. I tried Claire. Same. The conference was probably in full swing. I sent Martin a text. Need to talk to you. Call me when you can. Didn't mention the gun. Didn't know how to phrase it. Then I started thinking. Why would they have a gun? And why keep it in the kitchen, loaded, just sitting there with the Domino's menus? That's not how responsible gun owners store weapons, surely. You lock them up. You keep the ammunition separate. I walked back to the kitchen and opened the drawer again. This time I noticed something else. There was a piece of paper folded underneath the ammo box. I pulled it out. It was a photocopy of a driving license. Not Martin's, not Claire's. Someone called David Holbrook. The address was local, maybe 2 miles away. The photo showed a man in his 40s with a shaved head and a neck tattoo. I put everything back exactly how I'd found it and closed the drawer. My mind was racing. I checked the other drawers, the cupboards. In the cupboard under the sink, behind the cleaning products, there was a Tesco carrier bag. Inside, 2 mobile phones, both switched off, both old models. A set of car keys with a Vauxhall fob. A small notebook with addresses and times written in it. None of it made sense. I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to leave right then, pack my things, lock up, drive home. But another part of me thought maybe there was an explanation. Maybe Martin was holding it for someone. Maybe it was for protection, and he'd just forgotten to mention it. I sat at the kitchen table and waited for him to call back. An hour passed. 2 hours. I kept looking at the drawer. Eventually I opened it again and took the gun out. It was heavier than I expected. I checked the safety. I think it was on. There was a little lever thing. I didn't touch it. That's when I heard the front door. Not a key turning, just the door opening. Slowly. I definitely locked it after coming in. I was sure of it. I froze. The gun was still in my hand. I heard footsteps in the hallway. Heavy, deliberate, not Martin's stride. I knew Martin's walk. Hello? I called out. My voice came out thin. The footsteps stopped. Then a man's voice, low and calm. Where's Martin? I didn't answer. I stayed in the kitchen, gun pointed at the doorway, hands shaking so badly I could barely hold it. I heard him moving again, checking the living room maybe. Then he appeared in the kitchen doorway. Shaved head, neck tattoo, David Holbrook. From the photocopy. He looked at me, looked at the gun. His expression didn't change. That's mine, he said. I don't know who you are, I said. You need to leave. He took a step forward. Martin's got something that belongs to me. I'm here to collect. He's not here. I can see that. Another step. Put the gun down. You don't even know if it's loaded. It is, I said. I checked. That made him pause. He studied me for a moment, then nodded slowly. All right. When's he back? Tomorrow. Tell him I came by. Tell him we need to talk. Soon. He turned to leave, then stopped. And tell him keeping my things was a mistake. He walked out. I heard the front door close. I stood there for maybe 10 minutes, still holding the gun, before my legs gave out and I sat down hard on the kitchen floor. I left an hour later, didn't water the plants, didn't collect the post. I drove straight home and tried Martin's phone again. Still nothing. I sent him a longer text explaining what happened. He called me back Sunday evening. Said he'd explain later. Said he was sorry. Said he'd been trying to help someone and it got complicated. Wouldn't give details over the phone. I haven't been back to their house since. Martin says everything's sorted now, that David got what he needed and it's done. But he won't tell me what it was about. Claire doesn't know any of it, apparently. He wants to keep it that way. I still have the photo of the gun on my phone. Sometimes I look at it and wonder what I walked into that weekend, and whether Martin's really out of it, or if David Holbrook's just waiting for another reason to come back. The email came on a Tuesday afternoon. I was at work, half watching my inbox while pretending to care about quarterly reports. Subject line: family dinner, this Saturday. Don't miss it. It looked normal enough. Professional formatting, a nice header with our family name in cursive. The sender was familyevents2024@outlook.com. I didn't recognize it, but my first thought was that maybe my sister had set up a new account for organizing things. She's always trying to get us together more often. The message listed our home address, my parents' house, and said dinner would be at 7 p.m. It mentioned my mom's lasagna and asked everyone to RSVP. There was even a little note at the bottom. Looking forward to catching up with everyone. It's been too long. I texted my sister. Did you send out a dinner invite? No. What are you talking about? I forwarded her the email. She called me 2 minutes later. That's not me. I don't have that email address. Did Mom send it? I called my mom. She was confused. No, she hadn't planned a dinner. She hadn't sent any email. She didn't even know how to make those fancy formatted messages. My dad got on the phone, equally baffled. Neither of them had sent it. My brother got the same email. So did my aunt and 2 cousins. All of us received it within the same hour, all from that same address none of us owned. At first we joked about it. Maybe it was a glitch, some automated thing that scraped family connections from social media. My sister thought it might be a scam. Click the RSVP link and it installs malware or something. But there was no link, just text, just our address and a time. Should we still do it? My mom asked. I mean, we're all talking about it now. Might as well have dinner. We agreed, mostly because it felt silly not to. Someone had gone to the trouble of inviting us to our own house. We'd turn it into a real thing, figure out who sent it over lasagna. Saturday came. I got to my parents' house around 6:30. My sister was already there, helping Mom in the kitchen. My brother showed up next, then my aunt. By 7 p.m. we were all gathered in the dining room, laughing about the whole situation. Maybe it's a prank, my cousin said. Someone trying to mess with us. Who would do that? My mom asked. Nobody had an answer. We were halfway through dinner when the doorbell rang. My dad got up to answer it. We heard him open the door, heard him say, "Can I help you?" A man's voice, calm and polite. "I'm here for the dinner." I got the invitation. Everything went quiet in the dining room. My sister and I exchanged looks. My brother stood up. My dad came back, followed by a man in his 50s. Average height, gray hair, wearing a button-down shirt and slacks. He looked like someone's accountant. He was holding a bottle of wine. I'm sorry. I didn't catch your name, my dad said. Martin, the man said. He smiled at all of us. Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this. None of us knew him. I think there's been a mistake, my mom said carefully. This is a family dinner. Just family. Martin's smile didn't fade. I got the invitation. Same as everyone else, I assume. He pulled out his phone, showed us the email. Same format, same sender, same address. Sent on Tuesday, just like ours. How did you get our address? My brother asked. It was in the email, Martin said, like it was obvious. I wouldn't have known otherwise. But we don't know you, I said. He looked at me, still smiling. Not yet? My dad suggested Martin had the wrong house, wrong family. Martin insisted he didn't. He'd checked the address 3 times. He'd driven 40 minutes to get here. Who sent you the invitation? My aunt asked. Martin looked confused by the question. The same person who sent yours, I imagine. We tried to explain that none of us had sent it, that we didn't know who'd created that email account. Martin listened patiently, nodding, but he didn't leave. He just stood there with his wine, like he was waiting for us to stop being rude and invite him to sit down. Finally, my dad asked him to leave, politely at first, then more firmly. Martin's expression changed. Not angry, exactly. Disappointed. I was invited, he said quietly. Just like you. We're family, my sister said. You're not. Are you sure? Martin asked. That question hung in the air for too long. He looked at each of us, one by one, like he was searching for something. Recognition. Maybe. My brother physically walked him to the door. Martin didn't resist, but he kept talking. I'll forward you the email thread. There were others. Check your spam folders. After he left, we did. My mom found 3 messages in her spam from that same address, sent over the past month. They were replies to emails she'd never sent, conversations she'd never had. Someone had been impersonating her, talking to Martin, building a relationship. We reported it to the police. They took notes, said it sounded like a sophisticated phishing scheme or identity theft setup. But without a crime actually committed, there wasn't much they could do. They'd increase patrols near the house. Martin never contacted us again. The email account went dead. But sometimes I think about what he said. Are you sure? I've gone through old photos, asked my parents about distant relatives, people they might have lost touch with. Nobody matches. My mom had her DNA tested through one of those ancestry sites last month. We're all waiting for the results, though none of us will say why. The worst part is, we don't know what Martin wanted. If it was money, he never asked. If it was to hurt us, he had the chance. He just wanted to have dinner. He wanted to belong. Whoever sent that invitation knew enough about all of us to make it look real. They knew our addresses, our emails, our family structure. And they knew Martin. I still check that email address sometimes, type it into search bars to see if it pops up anywhere else. It never does. My parents changed their locks anyway. My sister won't host anything anymore without confirming by phone. We never did figure out who sent it. But I keep thinking about those spam folder messages, the ones where someone pretended to be my mom. The conversations were warm, familiar, like they'd known each other for years. Like maybe, in some version of things, Martin really was supposed to be there.